Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jenny Arnold from PPM Works, and today I'm going to go through a relatively short webinar on resource management in OnePlan for optimal results. We wouldn't want subpar results, so we're going for optimal results today. So we'll go through our presentation. I'll talk to you about our upcoming webinars and how you can reach out to us at PPM Works. But then I will also just go through a full demonstration of the great tool that OnePlan is, and particularly focusing on resource management and how you can make the most of that in your organization. We have some upcoming webinars, of course, today's, as I mentioned, and then next week we're going to be covering leveraging AI and automation to revolutionize project management. Sorry for my misspeaking there. Using Microsoft Planner for agile project management. And then finally, hybrid project management, blending agile and waterfall for maximum success. The great thing about OnePlan is that it has many different modules and elements. So even if certain sections of OnePlan don't apply to your organization, you don't need to implement all of those areas. You can decide what works best for you. In today's session, we're going to be using a pre-built template provided by OnePlan. But when we do implementations for clients, we take the time through our discovery process, learning about the client's processes to develop our own templates for each client. So we don't use out-of-the-box templates. We first decide, okay, what's really going to work for you? What elements do you need so that you don't get a whole bunch of fields and areas in the environment that you don't need? Instead, we find out what you do need so that you start out with a blank environment that we customize for you specifically. So in this environment, you're going to see the full kit and caboodle, as they say. Everything for resource management and resource planning is there, and we'll go through with some test data in the system how you can make use of that. We're going to talk about understanding resource management in OnePlan, the different areas that you can go to in the tool to see who is assigned to what and who is just planned for what projects in the environment. We'll talk about assigning tasks and managing the resources on tasks. So that'll be just like your standard project schedule where you can actually assign resources. And then what you can do is, depending on how you do your resource planning, whether it's top down or bottom up, you can bring your schedule assignments into your resource plan if you want to be tracking that both for utilization and for cost purposes. And then we'll talk about balancing those workloads. So a particularly helpful thing there will be we'll demonstrate how you can easily replace a resource. So if you use a generic resource, you'll be able to see how you can choose to replace that generic resource, say a project manager is what we'll use in the example, with all of the project managers in your organization, where you can see what their utilization currently is before you decide who is the best fit for the length of that project. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We host these once a week, and then we also add additional videos as we come up with new tips and tricks in various tools, primarily in OnePlan. So please visit our channel. You can find us at youtube.com/c/ppmworks. We have lots of helpful videos there. So let's take a look at what we are going to share today. So we have this test environment here. We are in the My Portfolio view in OnePlan, and I am logged in on a Contoso environment, one of Microsoft's environments, so that you can see all of the data that we've got in here. So this is just the top level portfolio view. You'll see that this is a fairly basic structure here that is designed from a resource management template, okay? So if we look here, we can see we're in the portfolio. There is a timesheet section here. We've got My Work. This would be where you'd see all of the tasks that are assigned to you. If you had team members working on your project that you wanted to just be updating very specific things in your project schedule rather than controlling any dates or seeing your schedule completely, then you could just assign them tasks and they can provide those updates here. We have the overall also known as the Global Resource Plan here. And then we have the full resource center that lists all of our generic and named resources. So let's just take a look there. So you can see here we have several resources in here that are just test users. We have a few that are generic. You can see these are all filtered by generic, but then there are some named resources as well. This happens to be me, Megan, okay? So I'm just using this account so that you can see these different settings, okay? You can set resource costs here, and you can set resource rates as well. And what this will allow you to do is when you're determining that resource utilization, you can then bring that resource plan over into your financial module in your plans so that those resource costs will be automatically calculated in your financial plan. So let's go here from the portfolio view. We're going to look at the data warehouse migration plan. I'll go right into this, okay? And because this was the last view that I was in, it's bringing me right to the resource plan here, okay? So we have top level details on this plan. This is where all of our project information, otherwise known as plan, all of our plan information will show, okay? The resource plan will show us everything that's been planned for both generic and named resources here on this particular plan. And then we've got the work plan here. This is our project schedule. And so if we expand this view, got this fully expanded now, we can see that there are assigned resources here. If I hover over this, if I stretch this column a bit more, sometimes it lets you see this, but we've got Bertram that's assigned. We also have Dwight Schrute assigned. People are comedians, so we've got our office staff that's assigned to this project, okay? And then when we're in our resource plan, what we can do is you could copy the data if you decide that you want to start from bottom up and you want to schedule all of those resources, actually assign them to tasks in your plan schedule. Then what you could do is you could also bring them here into your resource utilization. And you do that by copying all of those values. Okay, so we can do that here. We can copy values from the project schedule. We also could copy it from timesheets if folks have already tracked time and you want to bring in resource utilization from the past. It allows you to copy all, or you can, right now it's defaulting to partial, or you could do a full copy and then the dates will go away. But if you just want to copy for a particular date range, you could do that as well. This will allow project managers to work in whatever way is comfortable for them. If you have flexibility for that in your organization, then you can allow project managers to work in the way that they're most comfortable for deciding what their best resources are on these projects. You also can just determine what is allowed and what isn't. So all of that can be decided in configuration. For instance, will you allow copying from the schedule here? You can disable that if you prefer. Okay. When you're in the financial plan, which is not part of this particular template, you'd then be able to do that same kind of copy, except the copy would be pulling in data from your resource plan. So it would then be applying the costs. So for Gian here, for 40 hours for April, May, June, whatever rate is assigned to Gian in their resource center record, that cost would multiply by 40 hours for the month of April, May, June, and it would carry over into the labor costs that will show in the financial module. We have some other videos more specifically on the financial module. Please feel free to check out our YouTube channel to find those. But let's take a look at just one more thing here where you can do a replace of resources, because what most people have trouble with is deciding, well, how am I going to know who is available to do this work? So if we select this generic project manager resource here on the top, and then we pull up our candidates list here on the bottom, okay, we can then find resources by best match. And what that means is that this best match in this environment is set based on role. So if we're matching for resource role here as project manager, okay, I've got project manager already selected up here on the top, but then I can see, all right, well, who can I really replace this with? Which named resource will be best suited and best available for this work on this project, okay? So we can see that we've got project manager time. Let's see where that time is on this particular one. We'll just consider that it's from January all the way through, I'll scroll over here on the right so you can see all the way through to December, okay? November, okay, we'll say for just the calendar year of 2025. And we can see here, Rich Hendricks, okay, seems to be fully available, okay, he's fully green. So would Amanda Crew. She looks like she has lots of availability, okay? So let's select Amanda, and then what we can do is we can replace those resources, and we can decide, do you want to replace the resource? And we do. And then Amanda will automatically get replaced up here with the project manager time. Now, if the project manager had had hours up here, then those hours would have carried over. But what we can do instead is we can now allocate this resource, and we can determine whether it's, we know for sure it's going to be February all the way through, let's just say November, okay? And we're going to allocate that project manager for 25% of her time, okay? And that's going to be for the month of February, that has exactly 4 weeks. 40 would be a quarter of the 160 hours in February. You can see that it adjusts based on the full capacity of each of those months. Okay, so for April, it's 176. For March, it's 168. And for February, it's 160. Now, this is in a plan-specific resource plan, but what we can now do is, now that this work is done on this data migration plan, then what we can do is we can go to the resource plan and we can look at Amanda's utilization, okay? So now that we've assigned Amanda those hours that we show, it now shows in the global resource plan here, where you can see all resources, okay? This view is particularly helpful for resource managers when they're looking to track resource utilization across the organization or across, for instance, a particular business unit. Okay, if we wanted to just look at the engineering resources, we could use a pre-filter there. Okay, you also could add additional pre-filters. The thing that's great about these pre-filters is they actually, just as they're called, pre-filter the load on the page. So it really speeds up the resource plan loading based on these pre-filters, because before it even gets to the page, it's pre-filtered. So that will really speed up performance. Okay, if we clear this filter here and click someplace else, everything else will load already. Okay, if we switch to the business unit, professional services rather, the business unit of professional services, that's what Amanda is part of. So she will be included in that, so we see her utilization. If we expand these, okay, and now you're able to expand and collapse here. This is a very new feature up to the February 14th release just a few days ago. You can very quickly and easily expand and collapse your resource views here. Okay, you have filters here as well, where if you decide you want to filter by only generic resources and you want to see which generic resources need to have bookings, you can set that filter. Clear that filter there. See if I can get those generic resources to filter. Looks like we have a mix of named and generic resources in there. And if there are no resources that have assignments, they won't show in this view. So let's just show you some of the other built-in views here. We have by role. Okay, so this is where you could see all of the project manager requests that have come in for the generic project manager. Okay, so all of these projects are looking for a project manager to be assigned to them. And so this is where we can see, okay, well, who would have 56 hours available for this month? Well, it looks like Bertram would. who would have another 72. That'd be pretty close. It'd be a little bit over 121 hours. But this would allow you to change those resource assignments here. You can go into this plan specifically and you can swap the resource, or you could do it here as well. So that covers the overall review of resource management in OnePlan. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@ppmworks.com, and we'd be happy to provide a demo to your organization. Thanks for watching.